Good afternoon. The Orange County Legislative Delegation will now reconvene to, one, continue unfinished business that we've had on the agenda for the morning. I know we had two of our local bills, and then also our elections for delegation chair and vice chair. And then after that, we will hear presentations from individual citizens and representatives from the community entities. Again, welcome to each of you that are here in attendance or watching on Orange TV. I am Representative Camilla Brown, the chair of the delegation, and I will be presiding over the remainder of the meeting. At this time, we will bring up a proposed local bill to create the town of Preservation, Florida, which will be in eastern Orange County. Unfortunately, Representative Placentia is unable to be here with us. I know he was the point person on this particular bill, but I know we do have speakers that will be speaking on behalf of this legislation, and I believe it's John Roth.
Fouth?
Fouth.
Rhymes with South.
Okay, John Fouth of the Founders Committee. You are now recognized.
Thank you, and good afternoon. On behalf of Save Orange County, I request that the Orange County delegation support legislation to allow the citizens of East Orange County to do something very exciting and create an opportunity for home rule, which we've heard a lot about today from the very first session with Mayor Demings. This would be a very historic vote to create Orange County's first new municipality in over 50 years, since the dawn of the Disney era. The feasibility study that was completed by a grassroots citizens effort showed that the town of Preservation, Florida will be a powerhouse from its very beginning. It'll be the third largest municipality in Orange County. It'll have a population that rivals that of Maitland and a property value that approaches $1 billion. It has a strong town charter that's included in the feasibility study that will give citizens a local voice and local control, and it meets all the statutory requirements for incorporation. The main reason for incorporating is to give citizens a voice in their local government. The current situation is that we have one county commissioner. They're responsive to their own district, but our commissioner can be easily outvoted by all the other commissioners. And so what ends up happening is there's a lack of political representation, and that results also in an outflow of tax dollars to where tax dollars aren't being spent locally to address local needs. They're going to support areas outside the county. So we would like to request that this new town be enacted. We can do this, as the feasibility study showed, without creating a large bureaucracy. We've used the Gov-Lite model with a mayor and 4 commissioners who are elected at large rather than representing small districts. The cost for the local government is minimal. We'll be able to continue a lot of the services that we already have from Orange County, and then to also contract for those that we need in the future. This will allow citizens to have the ability to make local decisions on how their tax dollars are spent, to allocate them wisely, and to hold their local officials accountable. The budget was compiled with a consultant, Bill Underwood. Bill also is the town manager for Loxahatchee Grove, so he's very experienced with running a local government. The budget's conservative, so we overestimated expenditures, we underestimated, we're very conservative on what the revenue streams would be coming in, and it still winds up with a budget in the first budget surplus in the first 4 years. In the 5th year, that budget surplus is 0, but that's been accumulated through the previous 4 to have over a $500,000 projected surplus. So this is an area that is very strong in terms of its potential. It's located next to major employers like UCF and the Research Park. It has a tremendous potential for sustained and sustainable growth and not the boom-bust cycles. And So the citizens of this area respectfully ask this delegation to allow a vote to take place on whether to exercise that local control, that opportunity for home rule, and vote on the proposed incorporation of the town of Preservation, Florida. Thank you, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Faust. Members, are there any other speakers? No? Okay, we will move into discussion or questions. Representative Smith, we'll start with you.
Thank you, Chair Brown, and thank you for the presentation. Just want to give members of the delegation just a quick overview of why this is necessary. The proposed town of Preservation, Florida, does reside in part in the district that I represent, House District number 49. It also has parts that reside in House District 50, represented by Representative Plasencia, who brought this local bill forward, and of course in the Senate District of Senator Linda Stewart. For years and years and years, this community has had their voice steamrolled, overridden, ignored by representatives of the local Orange County Commission, even by their own elected commissioners. The issues that are out there are unique to those residents. Many of them are living east of the urban service line. They pay taxes, certainly to Orange County government and to the state and federal government. However, they don't get many of the services that come if you live within the urban service line. Many decisions related to development and transportation and the building of roads have happened without their input. And the reality is that many of the residents of this area have realized that one of the solutions to making sure that their voice is being heard, that local decisions involve them, and that they have a voice in the process and home rule is respected, is if they incorporate. So I have supported the need for this, and keep in mind, we're not voting whether or not to turn them into a town. But we are voting to move the issue forward as the law allows and statute allows, so that the residents can make that decision for themselves at a future time. And that's something that I support and ask for the support of the rest of the delegation as well.
Thank you. Representative Goff-Marcel.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was just curious, obviously this would have been unincorporated Orange County right
Correct.
now.
Correct.
And I was curious what the county's position, the commissioners right now, is on this decision, and also what the residents' position, because I live in an area that was incorporated into the city, or into the city of Maitland, and the taxes go up and all that. So it is, but of course the services, you get much more services. So I'm just curious what the residents think about this as well.
Well, the good news is from the feasibility study, the ad valorem, the property tax rate itself will go down if incorporation happens by more than $1 million. So that illustrates, how much money has been being exported out of this area to support county services elsewhere, that the town of Preservation can stand on its own 2 feet with a surplus and with a lower property tax rate from the very first day of its existence. We've chosen the area. It's an interesting question about the area and how the residents feel. We were in sort of a catch-22 situation where a lot of folks wanted to see the feasibility study before they would decide how much they'd support it. But in order to draft a feasibility study, you have to have the boundary. And so we were very conservative about the boundary and just chose the area where it had the highest support, where there was really overwhelming support. And we anticipate that down the road, perhaps some other neighborhoods would like to add in as well. We used a heat map generated from petitions and chose the boundaries to encompass the area where we had the most folks signing petitions supporting it.
All right, Senator Stewart, you're recognized.
I have committed to this community to have a vote because I think that is the fairest thing for them to do. There's been huge pressure placed on in this area for intense development. That it's a rural area and they don't want to see that type of their community become an intensive community of development. So I think that it's going to be up to those people that that are within the boundaries that have been designated to vote, and that also at that point in time when that vote takes place, anybody from the county can weigh in on their objections to it. So it opens the process up to have discussion. But in the end, it's up to the people to decide if they want to do this or not do this based on the facts and figures that is presented to them. So I think we should give them that opportunity to move forward and to have a vote.
Thank you, Senator Stewart. Representative Escamani.
Thanks so much, Madam Chair. Thank you for bringing this to us. I grew up in East Orlando, the corner of Lake Pickett and Colonial Drive. Went to Corner Lake Middle School, University High School. I lived in Avalon Park for a few years before I moved downtown, so I know I've attended some of your town halls in the past, and I've kind of watched this movement grow in East Orlando. So I'm gonna definitely support the effort to continue this effort forward. Thinking too that it will come potentially to my committee if it is heard. One of the committees I serve on is the one that helps make deciding factors on new towns being established. My question, just speaking to the boundaries real quick, I've done a lot of work in Bithlo, volunteering out in that area, providing civics education to some of the students, just looking at your lines. And you mentioned, using a heat map to see where you get the most support. I mean, were you actively collecting petitions across this section? I'm just curious about the drawing of the lines, and I appreciate the notion that it could expand over time, but it definitely looks like Bithlo's kind of cut out of it. And has there been any feedback from that community regarding this effort as everyone's kind of tied together? And then my final question is just the water supply for this area. Is this all well water, or is there any municipal lines that interact with the county as well?
Okay, so second question first. There's a mixture of water availability in that area. Folks on the eastern edge tend to be on private wells and septic tanks.
Okay.
The ones that are closer to UCF and are inside the urban service area, of course, have utility supplied water, and they're on sewage treatment lines. In terms of the heat map, in the feasibility study, it's actually on page 42. We've shown the heat map and then a close-up of the region as well. We had a lot of interest from folks all across the region, from outside the county, even from clear across the state. And so we focused on the area where we got the most local petitions. One of the requirements in statute is that the area can't have any enclaves in it. And so in being attentive to where the most strong support was, we also had to make sure that there was no one who was isolated in an island. And so that's why there's that little dip right by Bithlo.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, members, any other questions or comments? Okay.
I'd like to make a comment.
I'm sorry, Senator Torres, you're recognized.
Thank you. Lake Pickett is part of the area, correct?
Correct.
Okay. I remember I have friends that live up that way, and one of the biggest issues up there was the traveling on 50, congestion, traffic. But it was in 2010 that I worked for this young lady up there when she ran for District 35. And that community itself was growing at that time. And as you say, it's still growing today. And I feel that, in fact, that's one of the reasons a new commissioner was elected to office up there, because they had many concerns up there. And I hope, and I'll be supportive of what you're trying to do, and I encourage people to stick together, as one, to make sure it happens, because I was looking over what I received, the information, and mayor, commissioners, and everything that encompasses the town, it's going to be a huge project that you need to stay on top of that. So I'd be very supportive, and if I'd like to hear more about it later on when you have an opportunity, sir.
Thank you. One of the messages we've been trying to give out in our town halls is that with home rule and with local government comes that responsibility. And so it'll be the elected officials of town, the mayor and the 4 commissioners, as you noted, we're going to bear that responsibility and have to be responsive to the residents of that area. So folks won't be able to point their fingers down here to 201 South Roslyn anymore. They'll have to be looking themselves in the mirror and their neighbors and saying, we have to be responsible for this area now.
All right, thank you so much. Senator Smith, I'm sorry, Senator, speaking prophetically. Senator Stewart, you're recognized for a motion.
I know that Representative Placencia had wanted to be here, but I do want to congratulate him on his newborn child. And I will make the motion that the delegation move forward with this local bill to create the Town of Preservation, Florida.
All right, can I get a second?
Second.
Second, Senator Smith. Mark, can you do a roll call vote for us, please?
Chair Brown,
Yes.
Vice Chair Stewart,
Yes.
Senator Bracy, Senator Torres,
Yes.
Representative Antone,
Yes.
Representative Escamani,
Yes.
Representative Goff Marcel,
Yes.
Representative Mercado,
Yes.
Representative Smith,
Yes.
Representative Sullivan,
Yes.
unanimous.
All right, thank you so much. We will now discuss a proposal from the Reedy Creek Professional Firefighters to amend Chapter 67-764 regarding the Reedy Creek Improvement District. We have Tim Stromness,
Tim, just call him Tim.
Tim Stromness, Mr. Tim, who's the president of the IAFF Local 2177, Reedy Creek Professional Firefighters, who will be presenting this proposal. Mr. Stromness, am I saying it correctly?
It's actually Stromsness, but
Stromsness.
it reminds me of grade school, and all the way through when they got a substitute, they'd always just say Tim, since
Tim.
my new came in.
You,
But I really thank you guys